mystery, true crime, ghosts. If you like any of the three, you've come to the right place. Hi, I'm Rainbow and welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be sharing with you an insane story about a ghost bus in Beijing. So, if the name doesn't sound intriguing enough, well, the story will intrigue you. Without further ado, let's go. Slowly pulling up next to the Southgate bus station of Yanmingyuan, this was already the last bus of the night. On the bus were an older driver and a young lady who received the tickets. When the door opened, 4 passengers got on. A young couple, an elderly lady, and a young man. After boarding, the young couple sat together on the double seat behind the driver, while the young man and the old lady sat one after another on the front seats on the right side near the front door. Because at that time, the layout of Chinese buses seems to be, to my understanding, in this way. So the driver is at the front, and then right after the driver, you have a two-seat place for passengers. And then I think it's like a 3 or 4 row of just like one seat, one seat, one seat. And then you get like double seats on the back. Double or triple, yeah. Something like that. I hope that makes sense. I'll put a picture. The bus started moving towards the final stop at Xiangshan. The night grew even more silent, and the only sound one could hear was the roar of the engine. There were almost no passing vehicles or pedestrians on the road, because late November nights in Beijing are extremely cold, especially on such a remote area. However, even in winter, the bus being the only car on the road was still very unusual for Beijing. The bus continued, and about 2 stops, just over 300 meters past Beigongmen Station, everyone suddenly heard the driver shout, clearly distressed. "Darn it! There's not a soul around at this hour! What's going on today? There's not even a soul waiting at the station!" It was then that everyone saw 2 dark figures waving at the bus over 100 meters away. The ticket lady said, "Let's stop. It's so cold outside, and this is the last bus." At that time, there really was only this one bus route from Yuanmingyuan to Xiangshan, and it was so late that taxi drivers wouldn't go, because it was such a remote stretch of road. The bus stopped, and 2 more people got on, though it's more accurate to say 3, because one person was being supported between the two. After getting on the bus, they didn't say a word. The person being supported had disheveled hair and kept their head hanging down. The other 2 were wearing long robes like those of Qing dynasty officials, and their faces were pale. Everyone was terrified, their expressions tense, but the driver continued driving forward. Then, the ticket lady suddenly said, "Everyone, don't panic. They're probably filming a costume drama nearby. They must have drunk too much and didn't have time to change their clothes." Everyone calmed down after hearing this, except for the old lady, who kept looking sternly at the 3 people sitting at the back. The bus continued on, and later about 3 more stops, the road was still empty. The wind still strong, and no one else got on. The young couple had gotten off at the previous stop. The driver and ticket lady chatted and laughed. Suddenly, the elderly lady stood up, and as if possessed, started hitting the young man sitting in front of her, shouting that he stole her bag when they got on the bus. The young man got angry, stood up, and yelled at the old lady, "At your age, how can you slander someone like this?" The old lady didn't reply. She just stared angrily at the young man and grabbed the collar of his shirt with her left hand, refusing to let go. The young man's face turned red with anger, but he couldn't say a word. The old lady said, "There's a police station up ahead. Let's go there to settle this." The young man snapped, "Let's go then. Let's see who's right." The bus stopped, and the old lady dragged the young man off. As they watched the bus drive away, the old lady let out a sigh. The young man said impatiently, "Where's the police station?" The old lady replied, "What police station? I just saved your life." The young man looked confused and said, "How did you save me? I'm fine. These three people who got on later, are they not human but ghosts? I must be really seeing things." With that, the young man turned to leave. "Even if you don't believe me, let me finish speaking," the old lady said. The young man stopped, and she continued, "I had doubts from the moment they got on the bus, which is why I kept looking back at them. It was a coincidence, but the wind blowing through the window let me see everything. The wind lifted the lower part of the two people in the robes, and I saw they had no legs at all." The young man stared wide-eyed at the old lady, his face covered in sweat, unable to say a word. "What are you standing there for? Hurry up and call the police," the old lady urged. The next day, the bus terminal reported that the last bus of the previous night, along with its driver and ticket lady, was missing. The authorities launched a search quickly. The young man who called the police in the evening, along with the old lady, who the police suspected were mentally ill, were found 2 hours later. That night, the Beijing news quickly reported the shocking event, with on-site interviews from the old lady and young man. On the third day, the police found the missing bus near Miyun Reservoir, over 100 kilometers from Xiangshan, and discovered 3 severely decomposing bodies on the bus. Even more confusing details emerged later on. The bus, which had been running all day, couldn't have traveled over 100 kilometers more. What's more, the police found that the fuel tank didn't contain gasoline, but blood. More puzzling is that the bodies had decomposed severely in less than 2 days, which wouldn't even happen in the summer. Autopsies also confirmed it was not man-made. After a thorough check by the police, the surveillance cameras and all intersections leading to Miyun Reservoir showed nothing. Well, what do you think? I would like to hear your opinions. My boyfriend said it's quite a big story in China, as well as recent days there's been news emerging that the bus has returned and people who get on it disappear. So, yeah, that's interesting. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!